Hello everybody, this is GeneralJannis, and today in Chaos Tactics I'm looking at the faction focus for Imperial Guard and focusing on their big guns, calculating the damage output of what we've seen so far. So in the new 40k now we have a strength 24 weapon coming up, the Volcano Cannon. So with no further ado, let's get started. So today, the 8th of May, finally temperatures in Denmark increased above the spray paint temperature, so I could finally start priming my last war dogs and start painting them. So working a little bit on my Chaos Knights. But as I said, today in this video, I'm looking at the Imperial Guard, a brief faction focus, and then math hammering some of their big guns from the Baneblade and some of the other tanks that we saw today. So, a brief Imperial Guard faction focus. So, the army-wide rule of the Astra Militarum Imperial Guard is the voice of command, which means that officers can give orders, and it will say on the datasheets of the officers what orders can be given. Interestingly enough, also, if a unit becomes battle shocked, that they lose their order, so they need to stay, let's say, in good morale to behave to get some good orders. The orders are from this 3-inch more move, add 1 to the weapon skill, add 1 to the ballistic skill. Rapid fire weapons increase the attacks by 1. Take cover, giving better armor saves, and then increase the leadership and objective control characteristics could be quite good to take some objectives and to avoid battle shocks. Probably there will be, I would assume there could be some orders for tanks, but let's see when we get more rules. The infantry squads, we saw the Cadian shock troops. The infantry squads now, they seem to be able to be taken in 10 or 20 models, and then they will have 2 sergeants, so it's basically 2 full squads just bundled together. The Cadian shock troops, shown with their weaponry and choices, etc. Interesting rule that they have sticky objectives, so if they move off an objective, they still count as controlling it. 2 leaders can join the Cadian shock troops, and one of them can even be a command squad, so you could have a huge blob of infantry moving around. And interestingly enough, one of the stratagems previewed reinforcements, 2 command points. When one regiment unit is destroyed, it can be brought, a new unit with the same characteristics is brought back without the characters. This also will include the scions, so any type of infantry that has the regiment keyword. And then the datasheet previewed for the Baneblade, so very strong, improved the defensive profile for the Baneblade. We have a toughness 13, so even higher than the executioner for the Space Marines. A 2+ save, also quite nice, and 24 wounds for the Baneblade. So not easy to take this monster vehicle out. An ability called Rolling Fortress allows it to give cover to infantry if the opponent can only trace line of fire between, somehow partly obscuring the model from the Baneblade. And then we can see the ranged weapons here, the focus of this video. Lots of blast weapons. The new blast rules seem to give you 1 extra shot for every 5 enemy models after 5. So shooting in a big blob of 20 guardsmen, you could fire a lot of extra shots. So the weapons, the ranged weapons, are hitting on the 4+. So probably it must be able to get some orders to improve the ballistic skill of the guns, or maybe that they didn't mention any turret rules like the currently today. But let's see when we have the final release. So now in this table, I calculated the damage output for the big guns that were previewed from the Baneblade. They showed also the Leman Russ battle cannon and the Volcano cannon from the Shadowsword. Before I go through the table, so a lot of questions and confusion when I write, for example, 1,8. What does that mean in the table? The numbers basically is because the decimal point where in the region where I live is the comma. So 2,7 is the same as 2.7. So I hope that helps you read the tables a little bit better. This is the way my Excel is presenting the values. So for many countries in Europe, this is the case. So if we start with the Leman Russ battle cannon, so d6 plus 3 attacks, ballistic skill 4 plus, and then strength 10, AP only -1, damage 3, and then you can see the damage that it will do on average with the d6 plus 3 shots. Here I'm not assuming that we have blast rules going with more shots, but shooting at something like Termagants or Imperial Guard, Guardsmen, then the Necron Warriors, Intercessors, Terminators, then the Rhino, Gladiator, and Repulsor that we had from the Space Marines, and then Abaddon and Guilliman that I made a special video yesterday. So we can see, for example, 2.7 wounds with a battle cannon on the Terminators, not very much, not even killing one, because the AP1, the Terminators will be saving on a 3+, and with a 4+ ballistic skill, a lot of misses from the with no further buffs. But I would assume that Astra Militarum, they have some tricks up their sleeves to improve the shooting with rerolls, etc. Then we go to the Baneblade. It had the Baneblade cannon and the Demolisher cannon, and if we can compare those two, the Demolisher cannon has a d6 damage, d6 plus 3 shots, high strength, but the Baneblade cannon overall better than most targets with 3d6 attacks, and then a straight 3 damage. It's quite good against Terminators, would be killing 2 Terminators so with this. And we can also do 7 wounds on a Rhino or a Gladiator. On a Repulsor, we are starting to suffer from the wound roll, while the Demolisher cannon is better there against the Repulsor, being strength 14. The last cannon that seems also to be able to be taken probably a sponsor weapon. You can see the damage output. It's only 1 shot, but it can add a bit of damage on the shooting. And then finally, the Volcano cannon that for the Shadowsword. This has also the heavy weapon profile. Heavy means that if it stands still, it will be getting +1 to hit. So if I assume just standing still, it has a 96-inch range, so it could be standing still and shooting. Then it will be hitting on 3s. D3 +1 attacks, so on average you will get 3 attacks. Strength 24, wounding nearly every vehicle in the table on a 2+. AP -5, forcing knowing if the opponent doesn't have an invul, there is no save, and a straight flat 12 damage if it goes through. So in this case, of course, this is an anti-vehicle weapon. You see 17 wounds almost on the other vehicles on average. Something like War Dogs, Chaos Knights, etc. Would be suffering versus this weapon. And okay, I guess with these high value shots, you would be spending command point rerolls or try to buff that if you put it on the tabletop. So with a 4+ weapon skill, ballistic skill, probably improved hit rolls are needed. So that could be some turret rules or some specific tank orders that these tanks can get to do even more damage. So reaching to the summary final thoughts of this Astra Militarum focus, the Astra Militarum will still use the order systems, some good weaponry for the Baneblade and the Shadowsword. The Leman Russ battle cannon only AP -1, not very strong against the Space Marines and things with a good save. All of them could benefit from better hit rolls by getting orders, turrets, or some other rules, because hitting on a 4+ with a very high value weapon, that's a bit wasteful when you see 1s, 2s, and 3s on the dice. Larger infantry squads will be happening for the Astra Militarum, and regenerating a whole regiment for 2 command points sounds quite interesting. So this concludes the short video about the big guns of the Astra Militarum. What are your thoughts? And probably what could we do as Chaos to face them? Of course, we need to see some of our faction focus to give some better ideas here. So this concludes the video. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there, and bye-bye.